Rachel, let's start with you because the last time we saw you with Mrs. Maisel, you were fired and kicked off the plane. Now what?
Yeah, it's a great question. It wasn't our finest moment at the end of season 3, but this is a real make or break it moment for Susie and Midge, and honestly, this is kind of what they do best. They're picking themselves back up by the bootstraps, and also I think they're determined not to make the same mistakes. They're determined not to end up back on that tarmac. So they're figuring out how to carve their own paths in an industry that hasn't really laid a roadmap for them.
What is it about Midge that we kind of all want to live vicariously through her?
She has an excellent and completely unobtainable wardrobe.
That too.
I think she's someone who doesn't apologize for being herself at any given turn. And she's someone who is fallible and messy and also smart and sharp and funny and brave. And I know that I to play a woman like Midge, but also would be so excited to see a woman on TV.
And Alex, you play Susie so beautifully. You're also fearless, and you have to put up with Midge, who sometimes just doesn't get boundaries.
No, she doesn't get boundaries. But, I've been actually thinking about, I put up a lot with Midge, but really you think about, I was quite dishonest with the money situation with Midge. Midge has been quite honest and on the level with all of her failings and shortcomings, and Susie still kind of has a couple of secrets from Midge, which is interesting.
So are we gonna see that unravel this season?
You are going to see her have to struggle. She makes a promise on that tarmac that everything's going to be okay and we're going to be okay, she says to Midge, and I don't think she really knows how, but that's her struggle, the season 4 struggle. And I would correct you, Rachel, that they're not going to pick themselves up by their bootstraps, rather their bra straps.
I like that.
Give me.
Even better. You two have the best relationship, chemistry on camera, even though Susie can be a little, she's got a way with words. You know what I mean?
Well, one in particular, which I won't repeat, but yes.
So, Rachel, I'm wondering, are we going to have a love interest this season?
Alex and I have been talking about this so much over the last couple of days. We feel like the central love story in the show is Smidge, is Susie and Midge.
What's it like living with her parents this season?
I mean, as you can imagine, it's a lot of shenanigans ensue. I can't imagine personally what it would be like to move back in with my parents at this age, alone with 2 children and my own family. It's tough.
So what does Midge's father think of her moving back home? Tony Shaloub, a.k.a. Abe Weissman, tells us.
I think what's really interesting about this next season is that we because Abe has gone through all of these new changes in his life, in some interesting way, his life and Midge's life are starting to intersect. They're both they both found themselves kind of humbled and in a vulnerable place. And Abe is on this new trajectory in his new role as a critic for the Village Voice. He's taken a massive pay cut. He's, in a sense, starting over in the same way that Midge, after being bounced off of the Shy Baldwin tour, is having to regroup and start again. So they're starting. I think they have a kind of a newfound appreciation for each other and for each other's predicament.
Are you okay with her relationship this season? Because she didn't want to tell me too much, but the rumors are that there's a new man in her life.
Oh, we love rumors.
Yeah, I think. For Abe and for Rose too, they're frustrated, just having to deal with their daughter's love life, however that turns out. It's so interesting. I think back to when I was younger and my parents being of that generation of Abe and Rose, and how little. How little my parents really were invested or involved in my relationships. It's so interesting.
It's so true, because I guess we're also connected now, whether it's because of cell phones or whatever, but we know when we're going, each other is going to the bathroom these days. I mean, it's so intimate and too much.
Exactly. And I have two daughters around the same age as Rachel's character too. And it's a totally different world. I would just rather not know.
So does Moish have anything to say when Midge starts dating?
I think he's selfishly more interested in his own son's dating life. Which may or may not be evolving as well.
I always love the backdrops for Mrs. Maisel, whether it's, the Concord, upstate New York, or the streets of New York City. But I heard this season you go to Coney Island.
We go to Coney Island.
Okay, that's good. Do you have Nathan's?
Of course.
And what about the Cyclone?
Well, the big attraction for the scene was the Wonder Wheel.
Yeah.
The 100-year-old Wonder Wheel.
We all love the New York City backdrops in The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. And in real life, actress Rachel Brosnahan really knows what it's like to be a New Yorker after a surprise appearance from a rat in her apartment.
How did it get in your toilet?
It's the $1 million question, right? I always thought that was an urban legend, that mice and rodents could climb up the pipework in your apartment. The toilet seat was closed, so it's the only logical conclusion, unless it made itself so small that it slid under the gap between the toilet and the seat. But it was a recent trauma in my life. Waterlogged rat removal. One I'd like to not repeat.
I don't blame you.
New Yorkers.
Were you able to use that bathroom again? Because I don't know if I would be able to use that bathroom again.
We here in New York, we just onward and upward. I don't have another choice.
Only in New York. And she's marvelous, isn't she? The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel airs on Prime Video on Friday. Can't wait.